Welcome, everyone. It's so great to have you with us today. I really want to welcome you directly. Yes, you, the listener,
Absolutely. Welcome.
because we have a very special, custom-tailored deep dive today.
We really do. We've got a unique mission for today's discussion, and we designed this deep dive with a very specific purpose.
And a very specific listener in mind.
Exactly. Today, our focus is entirely on you, the English learner.
Right, because we know you are actively learning and practicing your English, so we're going to adjust our approach just a little bit today.
Sort of that, yeah.
We're going to speak at a clear, comfortable pace. We'll use natural, everyday words.
But make no mistake, we aren't going to talk down to you or treat you like a child. You're an adult. You're looking to grasp complex ideas in a new language.
Exactly. So we're going to explore some genuinely fascinating concepts about human behavior today, but we'll do it using accessible language. You won't need to pause and check a dictionary every 5 minutes.
Which is really a fantastic way to approach language learning. I mean, so often textbook learning focuses on memorizing these long, complicated vocabulary lists.
Words you might never actually use in real life.
Right. But the most crucial words, the ones that actually connect you to other English speakers, those are the verbs and nouns we use to describe our everyday existence.
Which brings us perfectly to our core topic today. We're exploring the architecture of a daily routine.
Yes.
We've got a great set of sources that outline the real-life, everyday habits of two specific professionals.
First, we have Sarah. She is a school teacher working in a very busy classroom.
And second, we have Mark. Mark is a remote worker. That means his office is right inside his own home.
So by analyzing their days from start to finish, we are going to learn how to fluently describe a full day in English.
The materials we're working from provide a highly detailed 3-part breakdown of Mark and Sarah's lives.
We'll be looking at how they start their mornings, then how they navigate their midday work hours, and finally how they wind down in the evening before going to sleep.
And I think the real value here is that you're getting much more than just a vocabulary lesson.
Oh, for sure. You're getting a window into how two completely different people organize their time, how they manage their energy.
Right, because one is surrounded by the noise and demands of a school full of children.
And the other is dealing with total silence, total isolation, working alone at a desk in his living room.
So we get to see how they build boundaries, how they find peace, and how their routines keep them balanced. It's really a brilliant look into human psychology.
And that psychological angle is what makes routines so interesting to me. A routine isn't just a list of chores.
No, it's the invisible structure that holds our lives together.
Exactly. When you have a solid routine, you don't have to waste mental energy deciding what to do next. You just follow the structure.
That is completely true. So let's jump right into the very beginning of that structure. Let's look at the morning kickoff.
Waking up and getting ready for the day.
The first few moments of the day are critical. How you wake up really sets the psychological tone.
And the physical tone, too, for everything that follows. And our sources give us two completely opposite approaches to waking up.
They really do. Let's start with Sarah.
Okay.
According to the sources, Sarah wakes up at 6:30 in the morning. Her alarm makes a loud repeating sound. Beep, 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 beep. But she doesn't just jump right out of bed the second she hears it.
No, she hit the snooze button.
Right, the snooze button. That little button on the clock or a phone that pauses the alarm, it gives her an extra 5 to 10 minutes of peace before the alarm goes off a second time.
And during that time, she stays in bed. She stretches her arms and her legs.
Which is a very common habit. Hitting the snooze button is something millions of people do every morning.
Biologically speaking, it's a way of slowly easing the brain out of a deep sleep cycle.
Right, rather than forcing it to wake up all at once, she is giving her body a gentle transition period.
Now let's contrast that with Mark. Mark wakes up a bit later at 7:15 in the morning.
And our sources note something very specific about him. Mark is not an early bird.
Not at all. He identifies strongly as a night owl. Those are two fantastic everyday English idioms to understand. An early bird describes someone who naturally thrives in the morning.
They feel energized and happy when the sun comes up,
It actually comes from the old saying, the early bird catches the worm.
meaning waking up early leads to success. And Sarah definitely leans toward being an early bird.
But on the other side of the spectrum, we have the night owl.
Right. Owls are nocturnal creatures. They hunt, and they're active in the dark.
So when we call someone a night owl, we mean they naturally have more energy late in the evening. They prefer to stay up late.
And consequently, mornings are usually very difficult for them.
Very difficult. Because Mark is a night owl, He openly admits that waking up at 7:15 a.m. is a real struggle for him.
Which is a fascinating look at how our society is structured. The standard working world is built for early birds.
School starts early, business meetings happen early. Night owls like Mark often spend their whole lives fighting their natural internal body clocks.
Just to fit into the standard professional schedule.
Exactly. And that brings us to their very first actions after waking up, which are completely different.
Right. While she's still lying in bed, Sarah reaches for her smartphone. The very first thing she does is check the weather forecast.
She does this specifically to decide what clothes she needs to wear for the day.
This is a classic example of morning decision-making. By checking the weather immediately, she's trying to solve a problem before her feet even touch the floor.
But it also means the very first thing she experiences is a glowing digital screen.
Mark handles his first waking moments entirely differently. He doesn't look at his phone at all.
Not at all. When he finally forces himself out of bed, he walks straight into the kitchen and drinks a massive glass of cold water.
He says he absolutely needs that cold water to wake his body up.
It's a brilliant contrast in strategies. Mark is relying on internal hydration.
Because after 8 hours of sleep, the human body is naturally dehydrated.
Exactly. By putting a large amount of cold water into an empty stomach, he's triggering his internal organs to wake up.
To start functioning.
It's a very physical, biological way to shake off the sleepiness, which makes sense since he struggles with mornings as a night owl.
Right, he's waking himself up from the inside out.
While Sarah relies on external water.
After she finally gets out of bed, she goes straight to the bathroom and washes her face with cold water. The sources actually describe this as a shock to her system.
A shock to her system. That phrase paints a perfect picture. A shock to the system is a sudden, intense sensation that jolts you into alertness.
Splashing freezing cold water on your skin causes a sudden rush of adrenaline.
It instantly clears away that heavy, foggy feeling of sleep.
After that initial shock, Sarah moves on to her dental routine. She spends exactly 2 minutes brushing her teeth using an electric toothbrush with a built-in timer.
It's a very structured, precise habit.
Then she jumps into the shower to wash herself and feel completely fresh for the day. After that, it takes her about 10 minutes to dry her hair with a hairdryer.
Now notice how Mark's routine differs here as well. Mark washes his face and fixes his hair, but he skips the morning shower entirely.
He actually prefers taking his shower late at night.
Right, because the warm water helps him relax and prepare for sleep. So for Sarah, a shower is an awakening ritual.
While for Mark, a shower is a calming ritual.
It's amazing how the exact same action, standing under warm water, serves two completely different psychological purposes, depending on when you do it.
Exactly. And the differences only grow larger when we look at how they dress and how they prepare to commute to work.
Let's look at Sarah's clothing choices first. Because she works as a teacher in a school, she has to navigate a professional environment.
She needs to wear clothes that are comfortable enough to move around in, but still look professional.
For example, she usually wears dark trousers paired with a neat blue or green sweater.
The sources mention she actually tries to pick out these clothes the night before to save time, but she frequently changes her mind in the morning.
That changing of the mind is a great example of decision fatigue. Even if you plan ahead, the morning brain often second-guesses those choices.
But she still has to adhere to a basic standard of dress. Mark's situation is the complete opposite.
Because he works remotely from his own house, he doesn't have a dress code to worry about.
Let's explain that. A dress code is simply the set of rules, written or unwritten, about what you are supposed to wear to a job.
Like a bank teller has a very strict dress code. They might need a suit and tie.
But Mark, no dress code at all. He just throws on a clean cotton t-shirt and a pair of comfortable jeans.
Which is one of the great perks of remote work. But it also removes one of the psychological signals that it's time to start working.
That's true.
When Sarah puts on her professional sweater, her brain knows it's time to be teacher Sarah. Mark doesn't get that clear clothing signal.
That's a great point. And Sarah gets another huge psychological signal that Mark misses out on. The commute.
The commute. The commute is the physical journey you take from your house to your workplace.
Before she leaves, Sarah packs her bag with 3 essential items: her house keys, her wallet, and her lunchbox.
And at exactly 8:10 a.m., she walks out her front door. She walks down to the bus stop. She uses an app on her phone to check exactly when the bus is arriving.
And then she has a 20-minute ride to the school.
That 20-minute bus ride is so vital. We often complain about commuting, but a commute serves as a mental buffer zone.
A buffer zone.
Yes, it's a period of time where you are neither at home nor at work. You are just in transit.
It gives Sarah 20 minutes to sit quietly, look out the window, and mentally shift gears from her private life to her professional life.
Mark doesn't get a buffer zone. His commute is almost comical.
He simply walks from his kitchen down the hallway and into his small home office.
By 8:30 a.m., he's sitting at his desk, turning on his computer and looking at his calendar for the day.
That transition takes maybe 10 seconds. It means his home life and his work life are stacked right on top of each other.
That lack of physical separation requires a very different type of mental discipline.
Meanwhile, at that exact same time, 8:30 a.m., Sarah is physically walking into her school building.
She's saying good morning to the other teachers, opening her classroom door, turning on the overhead lights.
And organizing the books on the desks for her students. Her environment has completely changed.
As we're discussing this, I think it's worth asking the listener to reflect on their own daily transitions.
Yeah, think about your own commute.
Do you have a long bus ride like Sarah, where you can listen to music or read? Do you deal with the stress of driving a car in heavy traffic?
Or do you just walk across your living room to a laptop like Mark? How does that journey or the lack of a journey affect how you feel when you finally start working?
It definitely shapes your mood.
And speaking of things that shape your mood, let's talk about the food that powers these mornings. This is one of my favorite contrasts in the source material, the breakfast divide.
Food is fuel, and their choices reflect the very different demands of their mornings.
Let's look at Mark's breakfast. It is massive. He cooks 2 large fried eggs. He toasts 2 thick slices of bread, spreading butter and sweet jam on them.
And alongside this heavy meal, he drinks a very large mug of incredibly strong black coffee.
No milk to soften it. No sugar to sweeten it. Just pure, dark caffeine.
That is an intense, high-calorie meal designed for one thing: sustained energy.
As a night owl who struggles to wake up, he's using heavy proteins, carbohydrates, and strong caffeine to forcefully boot up his system for a morning of deep concentration.
Sarah's approach to breakfast couldn't be more different. She prefers something incredibly light.
Instead of coffee, she brews a cup of gentle green tea. Instead of eggs and toast, she eats a simple bowl of cold cereal topped with a few slices of fresh banana or some strawberries.
And just as important as what they eat is where they eat.
Exactly. The sources give us this beautiful detail about Sarah. While she eats her cereal, she sits right next to a window in her home.
She just looks outside at the trees and the street. She deliberately treats this as her quiet time before the chaos of the day begins.
It makes perfect sense when you consider what she's about to face. She's about to walk into a building filled with hundreds of loud, energetic children.
Her job requires her to be constantly talking, constantly managing behavior, and constantly on.
So she doesn't need heavy physical fuel. She needs mental peace. She's hoarding silence before the noise begins.
Mark, on the other hand, knows he is going to spend the next 8 hours entirely alone in a quiet room.
He doesn't need to hoard silence. He has too much of it.
Right. He needs the physical energy of that heavy breakfast to keep himself motivated in isolation.
It's a perfect encapsulation of how we subconsciously adapt our routines to fit the environments we work in.
Which leads us right into the most demanding part of their day.
That's right. The morning is over. Now they have to face the core hours of their jobs. Our sources refer to this period as the midday grind.
The term midday grind is a great colloquial phrase to understand. Midday simply refers to the middle portion of the day.
But the word grind is interesting.
Originally, grinding meant crushing something hard, like grinding wheat into flour. Over time, it evolved to describe any hard, repetitive, continuous effort.
So the midday grind refers to those long, difficult hours where you just have to put your head down and get the work done.
And Sarah's midday grind is incredibly physical. Teaching young children requires high energy.
She's standing up, writing on the board, walking between desks and projecting her voice so everyone can hear her. It is exhausting work.
So by the time 10:30 a.m. rolls around, she is desperate for a break.
In a lot of school systems, this mid-morning pause is referred to as recess or simply break time.
While the children go outside to run around and play, the teachers get a crucial moment to recover.
During this recess, Sarah walks away from her classroom and goes to the staff room.
The staff room is a private room just for teachers.
She usually eats a quick, healthy snack to keep her blood sugar up, maybe a fresh apple or a crunchy granola bar.
But the most important part of this break isn't the food, it's the conversation. The sources note that she spends this time chatting with her colleagues.
Chatting is such a great verb. It implies a light, easy, friendly conversation. You don't chat about a serious crisis. You chat about everyday life.
And her colleagues are simply the people she works with.
Right, she's talking with her work friends. And what are they chatting about? They might briefly complain about a difficult lesson plan or share a funny story about a student.
But often they just talk about normal things, like a television show they watched the night before.
This light conversation is how she rests her brain. She gets to stop being the teacher for 15 minutes and just be a normal adult talking to other adults.
That social interaction is a massive part of workplace satisfaction. And it's exactly what Mark is missing in his midday grind.
Mark doesn't have a staff room. He doesn't have colleagues sitting across the table from him.
From 9:00 a.m. straight through to noon, he is locked in deep focus at his desk.
His morning is highly task-oriented. He is typing up long reports. He is reading and replying to a flood of emails.
The sources actually point out that his inbox is completely full, which sounds pretty stressful.
And to replace that face-to-face interaction, he spends a lot of time on online video meetings.
The mechanics of those video meetings are standard for remote workers now. He has a webcam mounted on his monitor so people can see him.
And he wears a headset with a built-in microphone so the audio is crystal clear and without echoes.
But Mark makes a really interesting observation about these video calls. He notes how strange and fascinating it is to see the backgrounds of his coworkers' video screens.
He's looking right into their personal houses.
It really is a unique modern phenomenon. Before remote work, you only saw your colleagues in a sterile, neutral office environment.
Now through the webcam, you see their living rooms, their bookshelves, maybe a cat walking across the keyboard or a child's toy on the floor in the background.
It blends the professional and the deeply personal in a way we've never experienced before.
After hours of managing classrooms or staring at webcams, both Sarah and Mark reach a critical point in the day: lunchtime.
And this is where we have to talk about how they eat, and more importantly, how they handle the dreaded food coma.
Lunch is a major pivot point in the day. Let's start with Sarah's routine. She generally eats her lunch right around 12:30 p.m.
To save money and ensure she eats healthily, she usually brings a packed lunch with her.
A packed lunch is exactly what it sounds like. It's a meal you prepare in your own kitchen, pack into a container, and carry to your job or school.
On this particular day, Sarah has brought a fresh chicken salad and a small container of yogurt.
But staying inside the school building all day can feel a bit suffocating. The sources note that sometimes Sarah needs a change of scenery.
On those days, she'll leave her packed lunch in the fridge and go out to eat instead.
Going out to eat is a common phrase, meaning you leave your workplace to buy food from a restaurant or a cafe.
Sarah will walk down the street to a small local cafe just to buy a fresh sandwich. The actual food isn't the point.
The point is getting fresh air and physically removing herself from the school environment for half an hour.
Mark naturally has a completely different lunchtime dynamic. He eats a bit later, usually around 1:00 p.m.
And because his kitchen is quite literally 10 steps away from his desk, he doesn't need to pack anything in advance. He simply walks into the kitchen and reheats leftovers.
Leftovers are the extra portions of a meal that you cooked the day before. Let's say you cook a huge pan of pasta for dinner on Monday night, but you only eat half of it.
That remaining pasta goes into the fridge. Those are your leftovers.
On Tuesday at lunchtime, Mark takes that cold pasta, puts it in the microwave, and reheats it so it's hot and ready to eat again. It's incredibly efficient.
It is efficient. But regardless of what you eat, a chicken salad or a heavy plate of reheated pasta, you still have to deal with the biological aftermath of lunch.
And in English, we have a very specific, slightly humorous term for this: the food coma.
I know the food coma all too well. After you eat a significant meal, your body has to work hard to digest that food.
To do that, it pulls blood and energy away from your brain and directs it toward your stomach.
The result is that you suddenly feel incredibly heavy, slow, and sleepy. You feel like you could lay your head on your desk and fall asleep instantly.
That feeling of extreme midday tiredness is the food coma.
And managing the food coma is a crucial part of surviving the afternoon grind. If we look at how Sarah and Mark handle it, we see their environments dictating their strategies once again.
Sarah can't afford to be sleepy. She has afternoon classes to teach, and children have just as much energy at 2:00 p.m. as they do at 9:00 a.m.
So to fight off the heavy, tired feeling, she relies on caffeine. She'll make herself a second cup of strong tea or grab a coffee.
She forces her system to stay alert through sheer chemical willpower because she has an audience of students expecting her to perform.
Mark has more flexibility. He intentionally schedules his afternoons differently. He uses the post-lunch hours for what he calls creative work.
Instead of fast-paced video meetings, he works on long-term projects like writing articles or designing presentations.
Things that require a slower, more deliberate kind of thinking.
And when the food coma hits Mark, he uses a physical strategy. Because he works in the privacy of his own home, if he starts feeling his eyes drooping, he just stands up.
He'll do a full-body stretch, reaching his arms up to the ceiling. Or will simply pace around his living room for 5 minutes to get his blood pumping again.
He uses light movement to wake his brain back up.
It's a luxury you only really have when you work from home. You can't just randomly place around the room while teaching a class of 10-year-olds.
Very true. And that brings us to the end of the workday, which is perhaps the most interesting contrast between them.
It's all about how they wrap things up and draw a line between working and resting.
The concept of establishing a boundary is critical here. Let's look at Sarah's schedule.
The school bell rings, and her students pack up their bags and go home at exactly 3:30 p.m. The building gets quiet.
But Sarah doesn't leave.
No, she stays in her empty classroom for another hour or more, usually until 4:30 or 5:00 p.m.
She uses this quiet time to grade the homework her students turned in and to write out her lesson plans for the following day.
Some might ask why she stays so late instead of going home to relax, but her strategy is brilliant. She's creating a strict location boundary.
By finishing all the administrative tasks while she is still sitting at her school desk, she ensures that she never has to carry work papers into her home.
Her home remains a sanctuary. When she finally packs her bag, turns off the classroom lights, and walks out the physical gates of the school, she feels a profound sense of relief.
The work stays at school, the rest happens at home.
Mark, however, faces a massive psychological challenge. He can't walk out the gates of his office because his office is inside his house.
If he isn't careful, the workday will just bleed right into his evening. So he has to manufacture a boundary.
At exactly 5:30 p.m., Mark decides the workday is over. He saves all the documents on his computer screen. He shuts down the operating system.
And then he does something very deliberate. He reaches out and physically closes the lid of his laptop. Snap.
That physical action, the snapping shut of the laptop, is his equivalent of walking out the school gates.
It's a tactile signal to his brain that says the professional part of the day is now complete.
We call this role compartmentalization. He's intentionally putting away worker Mark so that relaxed Mark can take over.
If he leaves that laptop open, the temptation to check just one more email is too strong.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the next phase of their daily routine. We are moving out of the midday grind and entering the evening.
This is part 3 of our deep dive, Winding Down.
We're going to explore how they transition into their evenings, how they handle household chores, and how they finally prepare for sleep.
That transition from work mode to home mode doesn't happen instantly. Even after Mark closes his laptop or Sarah leaves the school, their brains need time to shift gears.
Let's see how Sarah handles this transition. She has her 20-minute bus commute, which helps. But the real transition happens the moment she unlocks her front door and steps inside her house.
The very first thing she does is kick off the professional shoes she's been wearing all day. She takes them off and slides her feet into soft, warm slippers.
Changing footwear is such a universal ritual. Taking off the heavy, restrictive shoes of the outside world and putting on something soft is a physical manifestation of leaving the stress of the day behind.
Then she walks into the kitchen and brews a hot cup of herbal tea. Notice it's herbal tea, not green tea or black tea.
Herbal tea naturally has no caffeine. She sits down, sips the hot tea, and uses that sensory experience to actively forget the noise and demands of the school day.
Slippers and tea. It's a very comforting internal transition.
Mark requires a much more external transition. As we mentioned, he hasn't left his house all day. He's been staring at the same wall since 7:15 in the morning.
So just closing the laptop isn't quite enough. He needs to simulate the feeling of returning home from a journey.
So he creates a fake commute. Right after closing the laptop, he grabs his dog's leash, and he takes his dog for a brisk 30-minute walk in a nearby park.
This is incredibly smart. That 30-minute walk provides essential physical exercise. It exposes him to fresh air and natural sunlight.
And most importantly, it gets him out of the environment where he works.
When he finally loops back around and unlocks his front door, he is entering his house not as a worker, but as a resident returning home for the evening.
Once that transition is complete, the reality of evening responsibility sets in. And the biggest daily responsibility is dinner.
Our sources show us 2 very different attitudes toward the evening meal.
Mark actually enjoys the process of making dinner. Around 7:00 p.m., he goes into his kitchen and starts cooking. He likes to make simple, wholesome meals.
He might chop up some fresh vegetables and toss them in a pan for a healthy stir-fry, or boil some pasta to mix with olive oil and garlic.
For Mark, the act of chopping vegetables and stirring pots is actually relaxing. It's a tactile, low-stress activity that contrasts perfectly with the heavy mental work he does all day.
Sarah views dinner very differently on weekdays because she has been out of the house managing kids all day. The last thing she wants to do is stand over a hot stove for an hour.
She prefers maximum efficiency. She'll throw together a large cold salad or just heat up some soup in a pot.
The sources even mention that on days when she is completely exhausted, she skips a formal dinner entirely and just eats a plate of cheese and crackers.
The goal is simply to eat and get out of the kitchen as fast as possible.
But regardless of how much effort you put into cooking, you always end up with dirty plates. And this introduces a fantastic piece of everyday English vocabulary: the chore.
Yes, the chore. A chore is any small, routine, necessary job you have to do to maintain your life or your home.
Doing laundry is a chore. Taking out the garbage is a chore. Vacuuming the floor is a chore.
And washing the dinner dishes is arguably the most universal and often most disliked daily chore of them all. Neither Mark nor Sarah enjoys doing the dishes.
Fortunately for Mark, he has technology on his side. He has a dishwasher machine in his kitchen, so his version of this chore is incredibly easy.
He just scrapes the plates, loads them into the machine, pushes a button, and walks away. The machine does the hard work.
Sarah isn't so lucky. She doesn't have a dishwasher, so she has to wash everything by hand.
She stands at the sink with a sponge and soapy water scrubbing plates and bowls. It takes her a solid 15 minutes of standing there.
But she's clever about it. She turns on some of her favorite music while she washes. She transforms a boring chore into a moment to listen to good songs and let her mind wander.
Once the kitchen is finally clean and the chores are done, the rest of the evening is dedicated to pure relaxation. And here we see how they choose to entertain themselves.
Sarah's idea of relaxation is very passive. She goes into her living room and stretches out on the soft sofa.
She might turn on the television to watch a movie or binge watch a few episodes of a drama series.
If her eyes are tired of screens, she'll curl up with a physical book. The sources note she loves getting lost in a good mystery novel. She's letting a story wash over her.
Mark's relaxation is much more active and interactive. He boots up his gaming console and plays video games for an hour or so.
It requires hand-eye coordination and active problem solving. But Mark is also very conscious of the fact that he has spent his entire day staring at a computer screen.
So he makes a strict rule to include screen-free time in his evening.
Screen-free time is exactly what it sounds like. Spending time doing activities that do not involve looking at a glowing electronic screen. No TV, no laptop, no smartphone.
For Mark, this means picking up the phone and calling his parents or having a long audio chat with a friend.
He prioritizes real human connection through conversation without staring at a device.
And this naturally brings up the broader concept of a digital detox.
Detox is short for detoxification, removing harmful substances from your body.
A digital detox means intentionally stepping away from electronic devices to give your brain a break from the constant flow of digital information and artificial light.
It's especially crucial in the hours right before bed. The bright blue light emitted by our phone and tablet screens actually tricks the human brain.
The brain sees that bright light and thinks, oh, the sun is still up, it's still daytime.
So it stops producing melatonin, the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. Both Sarah and Mark recognize that if they want to sleep well, they need to detox from their screens as the night gets later.
Which perfectly transitions us into the final part of their day, their sleep routines, how they actually shut down their own internal systems.
Let's start with Sarah since she goes to bed earlier. Right around 10:00 p.m., she begins her final routine.
She goes back to the bathroom, brushes her teeth for the second time that day, and washes her face to remove the day's grime.
Then she changes out of her evening clothes and puts on a pair of soft cotton pajamas, the loose, comfortable clothing designed specifically for sleeping.
By 10:30 p.m., the lights in her bedroom are completely out. Sarah is very disciplined about this because she knows her own biology.
She requires exactly 8 solid hours of sleep to wake up feeling refreshed for her students the next morning.
And here's the part that makes me incredibly jealous. Sarah falls asleep almost instantly.
The sources say that the moment her head touches the pillow, she is out.
Her mind is clear, her body is tired from standing all day, and she just slips immediately into deep sleep.
Mark's bedtime routine is a bit more complicated, which is typical for a night owl trying to force themselves to sleep.
He aims to be in bed by 11:00 p.m. First, he makes sure his alarm clock is set for the dreaded 7:15 a.m. wake-up call.
Then he gets into bed and picks up his Kindle, an electronic e-reader device.
But wait, didn't we just talk about avoiding screens?
Yes, but devices like a Kindle use a technology called e-ink, which doesn't emit that harsh blue light like a smartphone.
It looks more like real paper.
So he reads a novel on his Kindle for about 10 to 15 minutes, finding the process of reading very calming.
But even with the reading, Mark doesn't always fall asleep easily. Unlike Sarah, Mark often lies awake in the dark.
He stares at the ceiling and his brain starts spinning. He starts thinking about his to-do list for the following day.
The to-do list is the mental or physical list of all the tasks, chores, and jobs you need to accomplish.
Right. He's lying in bed worrying about the emails he needs to send, the reports he needs to write, and the meetings he has scheduled.
His body is resting, but his mind is racing forward into tomorrow. It takes him much longer to finally relax enough to drift off to sleep.
This is a great moment to pause and ask you, the listener, to analyze your own nights.
When the lights go out, what happens in your brain?
Are you, like Sarah, able to shut your thoughts off and instantly fall asleep? Or are you like Mark, lying in the dark with a racing mind, planning out your to-do list for the next day?
Understanding your own sleep habits is incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. So we've walked through the entire architecture of a day, from the harsh sound of the morning alarm to the final moments before sleep.
We've seen the morning kickoff, the midday grind, and the evening wind down. Now we want to shift gears slightly for part 4 of our deep dive.
We are going to focus explicitly on the language of routines.
The sources provided for this deep dive include a comprehensive master list of verbs. These action words are the absolute foundation of conversational English.
If you can master these verbs, you can describe almost any daily human experience.
We aren't just going to read a dry list of words at you. Instead, I want you to visualize the flow of the day as we talk through these actions.
Think about the sequence of events we just explored with Mark and Sarah.
Let's start with the morning sequence. Picture yourself waking up. The very first action is mental. You wake up, your eyes open.
Then comes the physical effort. You get out of bed.
You walk to the bathroom to wash your face and brush your teeth.
You step under the water to take a shower.
You dry off and get dressed in your clothes for the day. You go to the kitchen to make breakfast.
And finally, you grab your keys and leave the house.
That sequence of verbs covers the first 2 hours of almost everyone's day. Now picture the midday grind.
You're out the door, so you walk to the corner to catch the bus. Or maybe you drive your car.
You travel until you arrive at work. Once there, you sit down and check emails.
You talk to colleagues when you have meetings.
At noon, you take a break to have lunch. And after several more hours of effort, you finally finish work.
Then the energy shifts as evening arrives. You pack your bag and go home.
On the way, you might stop at the store to buy groceries. Once inside, you stand in the kitchen to cook dinner.
Then comes the chore, where you wash the dishes.
With a clean kitchen, you can finally relax on the sofa.
You might go outside to take a walk for fresh air, sit down to watch TV, or quietly read a book.
And eventually, night falls.
Yeah.
The sequence slows down. You take off your day clothes and put on pajamas.
You check your clock to set the alarm for tomorrow morning.
You walk into your bedroom and go to bed. And lastly, you close your eyes and fall asleep.
Those actions grouped together represent the fundamental rhythm of human life. But our sources offer a very important piece of advice regarding this vocabulary.
A common mistake when learning language is trying to memorize massive lists of words all at once. The brain gets overwhelmed.
Yes, the sources strongly suggest a different strategy. Pick just 5 verbs a day. Don't try to learn 50 actions. Just pick 5.
Focus on them. Understand them completely. The next day, pick 5 more.
Another excellent practical strategy from the materials is to keep a simple English diary.
A diary is a personal notebook where you record the events of your life. It doesn't need to be long or complicated. You don't need to write beautiful poetry.
Just use the notebook to track your actions using the verbs we discussed.
Exactly. At the end of the day, sit down and write a few basic sentences. Today I woke up early, I took a hot shower, I arrived at work late.
The act of physically writing the words helps cement them in your memory. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint.
It takes time, patience, and daily repetition. Building a language habit is just like building a daily routine.
That's a profound connection. And it brings us to a nice summary of everything we've covered today.
We didn't just review English vocabulary, we looked deeply at the universal human habits that structure our existence.
That's the beauty of this topic. Whether you live in a tiny apartment in a massive city or a house in a quiet village, the rhythm of the day is largely the same.
We all experience the jarring sound of a morning alarm, the heavy fatigue of the afternoon slump, the annoyance of household chores, and the sweet relief of resting our heads on a pillow.
Learning the English words for these universal actions gives you the power to connect with people from entirely different cultures. You share the same basic human routine.
You really do.
Yeah.
And we want to leave you with a concrete call to action today. Don't let this deep dive be just passive listening.
We want you to start that English diary. Grab a notebook or open a blank document on your phone and write down 5 simple sentences describing your own midday grind or your evening wind down.
Use the vocabulary we explored today. Put the language into practice immediately.
Before we officially sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought.
It's something for you to ponder and explore in your own mind. Throughout this deep dive, we saw how perfectly Mark's routine fits his specific personality.
He's a night owl who enjoys isolation, so remote work is perfect for him.
We also saw how Sarah's routine fits her early bird energy and her need for social connection. They have both built environments that support their natural tendencies.
Their routines are highly adapted survival mechanisms for their specific jobs.
But imagine what would happen if we forced them to swap lives for just one single day. What if Mark, the night owl, who hates mornings and loves the quiet of his own house, was suddenly forced to wake up at 6:30 a.m., put on professional clothes, and stand in front of a classroom of 30 loud, demanding children?
And conversely, what if Sarah, the energetic early bird who relies on chatting with her colleagues to stay sane, was locked inside Mark's house?
What if she had to wake up late, stare at a computer screen in total silence all day long, and rely on a fake commute with a dog just to feel a sense of completion?
Think about the massive psychological stress that would cause. How would that sudden drastic change in environment alter their energy levels?
They would probably use very different, much more frustrated English words to describe their day. It really makes you realize how much our personal routines act as armor, protecting us from the chaos of the world.
Think about your own routine. How does it keep you balanced? And how would you cope if someone forced you to live a totally different daily life tomorrow?
It's a fantastic thought experiment. It highlights that routines aren't just chores. They are the framework of our mental well-being.
They truly are. Well, we have reached the very end of our custom-tailored deep dive. We've loved spending this time with you, unpacking the fascinating psychology of our daily habits and exploring the language we use to describe them.
We hope you walk away feeling more confident in your English vocabulary and more insightful about your own daily schedule.
Keep up the excellent work. Remember to practice those 5 verbs a day. Start writing in your diary and be patient with yourself. You are making great progress on your language journey.
We wish you a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are in your routine right now. Have a bright morning, a productive midday grind, a peaceful evening wind down, and most importantly, a very good night's sleep. Goodbye.